All right, Richard Halverson here, ITS148, and today is October 3rd, and let's see where we are. I think I have a browser open up here someplace, and let me go to Overview. Today is October 3rd, which is right here. What? Am I a day behind? What's today? Tuesday? Today's Thursday? Oh my goodness, I'm a day behind. It's because I messed with these, but I didn't update this. Oh, all right. Well, we're actually still validating data. Okay, I will be able to catch up. Here, look, I have 3 whole days covering arrays and collections, and I only need 2 days for that. All right. So anyway, so we're doing validate data. We're finishing up chapter 7, and we're going to go over exercise. Wait, I never shared my screen, did I? Sorry, I have to share my screen. I'm going to share this one. All right. Okay, so we are October 3rd, and actually, when I made the adjustments to this schedule here, I didn't adjust these, but I did adjust this. So we're going to go over 7-2 today. We're going to finish up chapter 7, and we're only going to take 1 week next week to cover chapter 8, and that'll be fine. All right, so I think I have some slides someplace. So let me go into here, and we're in chapter 7. And we're finishing up validating data today. So we did exceptions on Tuesday. And exceptions is when you set it up so when your program bombs, you catch the error. And then you display out some nice message saying, oh, your program bombed. And then it lands you in a particular place after the try-catch section that you use to catch the error, and you're able to continue on. Back in the old days, when programs bombed, there was no such thing as exception handlers. You just had to always use data validation. So you always kept control of the program. But then when object-oriented programming came along, like C# and Java, they added a feature, and that is where the programmer can have control over the program bombing, and so that made our programs a lot more robust. Anyway, so let's find the section on. So this is still exception handling. We're using try catches. Exception handling still. Okay, so now this is where we get into data validation. Code that checks that an entry has been made. Okay, so that, I guess that would be caught as an incorrect entry when you're trying to convert the what was typed into a decimal value. But to actually test to see if the user entered in something into a text box, the user might have forgotten to type something into a text box, or didn't believe that it was required when really it is. A form of validation would be simply to check to see if the text box is empty, and if it is empty, you can display out a message saying the monthly investment is a required field, and you display up this message, and then the user can go back and you give the user another chance to fill in the text box. Here, in this section of the second example here, we're checking to see that the person typed in a valid decimal value, and to do that, we can use this try parse, this try parse method of any number type. So we have we're looking at decimal objects. We want something that can translate into a valid decimal value, and try parse is good for that because with try parse, it looks at the value, it looks at what you're trying to parse, and if it's parsable, it goes ahead and parses it. If it's not parsable, it simply returns a false value. So this whole thing becomes equal to false, and so you can test on that. So you have an if statement like this, and you try to parse it, and if you're successful, you do what's in you. If you're successful, then you act accordingly. In this particular example here, you're checking to see if you're not successful. That's why we have this exclamation point here. So if we are not successful parsing what they typed into the monthly investment, we're not successful parsing that into a decimal value, then do what's inside the if section here, which is to display out a message saying, please enter a numeric value for the monthly investment. So that's validation. You can see it's a lot closer to the actual application of the programmer. The programmer, though, has got to understand what's going on in the program, to be able to anticipate that kind of error. So here's some code that checks for a valid entry range. Thanks. So you're entering in a monthly investment. So you grab out the monthly investment, and you're able to, and it parses successfully. Let's say in this case you're not testing whether it's parsable. You assume it's parsable. So you get it, and it doesn't make sense if the monthly investment is less than 0. That's borrowing money, not investing money. And then also, your program, you have some limits too on what is reasonable in your program. So you can also have a check here where if the person entered in a monthly investment number greater than 1,000, then you can catch that also. And 1,000 doesn't seem like a very high number, but maybe you're doing it that way because you're going to figure out if the guy invests $1,000 a month for 50 years and he's getting 25% per month interest, that would get to be a pretty big number pretty fast. And so whatever the reason is, you want to put a limitation on the size of the entry, and this is how you can do it. And so here we're just checking to see if something is a numeric input, and there's this function here. No. We are creating a function here, and so what we do is we do a try parse to see if it's parsable into a decimal value. And if it is parsable into a decimal value, we simply return that. If it's not parsable into a decimal value, then we can display up an error message saying, hey, buddy, enter in a decimal value. So what we're doing here, we're creating this is decimal, this is within range, and is in the right range. We're simply testing the validity of the entry. We aren't we aren't doing anything more than that. We aren't returning any converted value. We aren't returning the value or anything. That's going to be dealt with later. We're only verifying that the data input is if valid numbers were entered in. And so these are the kinds of functions that you use for data validation. Data validation is simply validating that when the user filled out the form, the user filled out the form correctly. So in data validation, you don't care what the values are. You only care that if they are valid values. And you're going to leave using those valid values in a program, you're going to leave that for later. So here, what we often do, what a convention that we sort of learn in this book is we create a simple, a single method here like this. It's called isValidData. And this valid data executes, and it's going to return a true if the form was completely filled out correctly. If there's anything that was not filled out correctly in the form, it's going to return false. It's not going to say what it is that was bad, it's just going to return a false. And so what we have here is we have a bunch of if statements, and it just goes down and checks 6 times. It checks to see if the guy typed in a monthly investment, if the guy's monthly investment is a decimal value, and if the monthly investment is within a particular valid range. And if any of those doesn't pass the test, it just returns false right then and there. So it doesn't continue on. And then same with the interest rate. It does the same sort of check with the interest rates. With the interest rate, it doesn't let the interest rate be less than 1% or greater than 20%. You notice that this within range method here, there's 2 more parameters. That's the range. It's the low and the high. So in here, this is within range. It's the text box. It's some sort of description thing that's going to go wherever the name of the variable, presumably, or the username for the variable, what the user knows it as, like interest rate, and then a minimum and a maximum. So, okay, this is one way we can do it, which is a perfectly fine way. This accomplishes exactly the same thing. And so you have it's a single statement. It's a return statement. And it's going to return a Boolean value. And this is the expression. This is a big, long expression here, which is going to evaluate to a true or a false. And this is going to return that. Okay, so what it does is, first it checks out this is present here. I'm going to see, how can I'm going to turn the slideshow on from the current slide. And I'm going to swap. I'm going to do this and do this. See if this works. So it's a single return statement. Oh, single return statement. Rats. Oh well, I guess my pen's not going to work. So much for that idea. All right. So you can see here that this is a single this is a single expression here, and it's got the first term. It does this is present function, and it's going to return true or false. ANDed with this is decimal function, it's going to return true or false. ANDed with this within range function, and these were for the monthly investments. And then it also ANDs the three checks for if the interest rate is present, if it's a decimal number, and if it's within range. And the way this expression is evaluated, because we're using the double AND symbols, the way it works is it is smart enough to know that when it's evaluating, if anything evaluates to false, then it knows the whole expression is false. Why? Because it's all ands. And for this expression to be true, all of these have to be true. All these terms here have to be true. So as it's evaluating these terms one by one, if one of them evaluates to false, it's done. Okay, so in other words, if it's testing if the monthly investment is present and it's not present, it's not going to have to test if it's a decimal number. It's not going to have to test if it's within range. Good thing too, because you know it's obviously not a decimal number and it's obviously not within range. But you don't have to worry about testing, having is decimal testing if there's anything there or not, because it's not going to be evaluated if it's evaluated. That means there is something present. If this within range function is evaluated, that means we already know it's a decimal number in there. Okay, so anyway, you know, this accomplishes the same thing as this. I actually think this is more understandable, and I don't think this is any less efficient than this is. Okay, it's all going to compile to the same thing. All right, so that's that, and these are pictures here of in code for the exercise in the back of this chapter. There's this exercise in the back of the chapter, and it's this future value application. It's that one we've been talking about, and it does these checks on these entries, and these are the dialog boxes that display out if you make a boo-boo. And this is the dialog box for an unanticipated exception. That's, you know, I was talking about, you know, you want to have this data validation stuff so you can give meaningful feedback to the user when the user is messing up, but you know, you can't think of everything, and so you want to throw in something to catch an unanticipated exception. And if we look at the code, we have this first, we check to see if the data is valid. So that's this function. And oh, by the way, that function looks like it's down here. So this is the function that the code we looked at. Okay, so here we are back over here. This is the button calculate method, and it's inside of a try catch because we want to. That's that the unanticipated exception. But then all we do is we have this test to see if the data is valid. And if the data is valid, then we don't care anything else. We can just go ahead and do our calculations. The convert will work. This convert will work. It'll be in range. You're not going to be dividing by 0. You're not going to be putting in any funny numbers, negative months or negative interest rate or anything like that. They've already been checked out, and the fact that we get inside here means that the data is already valid. All right, so and then this next page shows the actual is valid code for is data valid, is valid data, and you notice that is valid data uses these other these these three extra methods here that are down here. There's is present, and then here is decimal, and here's is an integer. This tests to see if it's an integer. This tests to see if it's within a range, and this is the method that actually calculates the future value. And these are the pictures for this extra assignment 7-2 here. These pictures here. So for the assignment Tuesday, you know, this is the picture for that. Divide by 0 error. Please enter a non-zero value for operand 2, and then this is data validation. So this is kind of what we're going to do today. All right, so let's close this up. And let's go to, let's see what assignment. It's this one. And it's going to be 7-2. What does 7-2 say? It says, open the simple calculator project in the ITS148 blah, 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 blah. All right, so let's go to that. And if we go to resources, and we go to exercises, and we go to chapter 7, it is this one, I guess. This is the one we start out with, I think. So let me download that and put it on the desktop. I hope I'm doing the right thing here. Hope this isn't the solution. So I'm going to right click and extract all, and I'm going to open it up on the desktop, and I'm going to double click, and it should open right up because I've already logged into Visual Studio. All right. Let's see what Form 1 looks like. So I double click on Form 1 over here, and I look here and I see there's this design thing. It says design up there. I right click and I view the code, and now I have a second tab up here. One is form1.cs with code, and the other one is form1.cs with design. And sometimes I get so many things up here, I have to go down and look down here like that, and I find them there. Or I can go over here and I can form1.cs. This is the designer. Just if you double click on this form1.cs, then one of these two, I think this is the one that opens up. Either way, can you go to, I think this is the one that opens up. Anyway, so no, they both should open up. Why? Because this is a single class. It's Form 1, and this is a partial class. This is part of the class, and the other part of the class is this form1.designer. And let me open that up. It's already, here it is. I clicked on it. This is form1.designer, and so it looks like this. Don't you see? See this here? It's got the position. It's got all of the objects that are on the form. And it also has their positions. See, these are coordinates. This is the coordinate of the calculate button. Coordinates. This is the coordinates of the exit button. This is the coordinates of this label here. This is the coordinates of text operand 2 right here, you see. Now, if you're using Visual Studio on a Mac, this is how you code this. Visual Studio on a Windows machine, we have this extra fancy feature where we can see this file. Instead of looking at it like this, we look at it like this. And if we want to move this text box, this first text box here, which is operand 1, if I go over here and I find operand 1 text box, which is this one, operand 1, it says the location is 11119, okay? Now, let's say I want to move it over there. Okay, I'm just being stupid. I move it there. Well, now it's no longer 11119, it's 14350. See? Now, if, what was it, 11119? So I'm going to put it back to 111. What was it? Yeah, 11119, like that, and I should be able to go back here, and it should be back where it was. See? So it's this designer form where you can actually build the interface just by dragging and dropping from this toolbox here. That's the cool thing that Visual Studio on a Windows machine gives you. Anyway, so here we are. Let's look at this form1.cs. We see this button calculate. We got, oh, this is the old. Well, anyway, okay, let's see what the instructions say. Okay, code methods is present, is decimal, is within range, that work like the methods described in chapter 7 of the book. Code a method named isOperator. It checks to make sure you passed in an operator. Code a method named isValidData. Checks the operands. And the operator text box. And then delete all the catch blocks. Delete all the catch blocks, except the one that catches any exception. All right, then add the code that will perform the calculation and displays the result only if the text boxes are valid. All right, so let's see. So I'm going to start out by coding the is whatevers. Okay. Okay, let's start out by coding in, I'm going to put it right here. Start out with public bool is present. Is present, which is going to input a text box. And inside this little method, I'm going to call that text box txt box. How's that? And then I also am going to pass in a string, and I'm going to call that, and I'm going to call that internally. I'm going to call that a name. And I'm going to do this. And this method this is going to test to see if it's present, if there's something there. And so if txt box dot text, if the text property of this text box that I'm passing in, this reference to this text box, if that's equal to nothing, then the guy messed up. So put in a message box, have it open up a message box, have it show a message box that says name, which is what this text box is called, like, you know, investment amount or whatever, plus is a required field. Okay. Close the quotes, and this is going to be called entry error. Okay. That's what the message box is going to say. After we're done with that, after we've displayed it up, we want to do the user a favor and put the focus on this text box, so the user doesn't have to pick up his or her their mouse and you know, all that. Focus. Okay, and then return false because it was not, is present is wrong. Okay, so that takes care of if it's blank. If it actually makes it all the way down to here, that means there was something in the text box, so we're going to return true. Okay, so that takes care of is present. We also want to make a public Boolean is decimal, and that's going to input also a text box, and let's call it text box again, and a name. Okay, so we're going to put something there, and we're also going to do a is within range, public bool is within range, text box, txt box string name. Okay, so we're going to enter something in there. And so you can actually just go to the book or go to the slides. Do I still have the slides up? Let me open these back up again. And you can just copy. Wait a minute. Well, can't we just like copy this code? Is present. Is present. We just did that one. We need is decimal. We don't need an is decimal, do we? Decimal Dewey decimal. But we do need is within range. Oh, but we need a is, oh no, we do need, oh, we need an is decimal. Yeah, okay, yeah, we do need an is decimal. Okay, so I'm going to steal this code right here. I'm just gonna copy this. Copy. And I'm gonna go back over here and hope this works. This is decimal. All right, I'm just gonna do a paste. Paste. Ooh. Ooh. Oh yeah. Nice. All right, that takes care of is decimal. Do we have any other code we can type? No, I shouldn't use the word type. That's probably racist. Is within range. I'm going to copy this code. Copy. Copy. Is within range. Paste. Put this over here. Okay, looks good to me. All right, so that we got that in there. I did this, this, and this. Okay, and then oh, I got to do an is operator that checks to see. Is operator. Okay, well, let's see. I'm gonna just put that in here. Might be something like public bool is operator, text box, comma, string name, and I'm going to say if text string op equals txtbox dot text, if op is equal to plus, oh, it's got to be a double quotes, doesn't it? Because it's a string. Plus, or minus multiplication division return true, else message box show name plus is not valid. Okay. Entry error. Okay. And then txtbox.focus, and then return false. Okay, so it's going to return true. I can do this. Let's do this back. Do this like this, I guess. Do this like this. All right, so if the operator is a plus or a minus or a multiplication or division. Okay, so that takes care of the is operator. What else does it tell me I have to do? It tells me I need to code a method named isValidData. Da blah blah blah. All right. So let's see what that might look like. Well, can I steal any code? Can I be a code stealer? Let's see. I'm just going to start. I'm going to start with this. I'm just going to start with this. Copy. And someplace or another, maybe, I don't know, maybe here, paste. Is valid data. Okay. Is present, uh, no txt operand 1. And this is called operand 1. How's that? And this might be called the same. This might be called txt operand 2. And this might be called operand 2. And I don't know. TXT operator, There's got to be an operator present, and there's got to be an operator, what did I call it? Is operator. Sure, that's fine. All right, let me just, is operator. And it can be txt operator. Operator. Is that what is operator is? Yeah, text box string name. Yep, okay. All right, and I don't need this. And this should go in copy, should go in here, and it should go in here. And this copy should go in here and here. And what are the valid ranges for these operators? Let me go back to the instructions. Oh, between 0 and 1 million. Non-inclusive? Jeez. All right, 0 and 1 million. 0 and 1 million. And what does it is within range actually do? Yes, it is non-inclusive. Non-inclusive. If it was inclusive, it'd be greater than or equal to. Less than or equal to. If it was inclusive, but it's not, it's exclusive. It's non-inclusive. So this can be the same thing. 0, 0 to 1 million. All right. Okay. Now what's next? Okay. Is valid data checks out where you can just does that. Delete all of the catch blocks from the try catch statement in the button calculate event handler, except the one that catches any exception. Then add code to this event handler that performs the calculation and displays results only if values in the text boxes are valid. All right, so let's do that. Delete all these silly other catches. Yeah, I'll follow the directions. All right, and I need to, if is valid data, then do all this. Cut, paste. Well, alrighty then. Let's see what else it says here. Test the application to make sure all the data is validated properly. All right, let's see if this runs. I don't even know if this is going to run. All right, let me start. All right, operand 1, 50 times 2 equals 100. Oh, that's good. 50x times 2 equals operand 1 must be a decimal value. All right. Minus, no, I don't, that should work. Can I do? Oh, am I not supposed to go negative? That's silly. Between 0 and 1,000,000. Oh, okay. Guess so. All right. So minus 5 times 2 is operand must be between 0 and 1,000,000. Leave it blank. Operand 1 is a required field, right? How about make this a percent sign? Okay. What happens if it's blank? Oh yeah. All right. How about if this is 0 and this is divided by? Bung. Okay. Well, I like the other one better, but I just followed the instructions. All right. Well, anyway, so it looks like it works pretty good. So what you would need to do to hand this in is you would do something like, go back here. Oh, first of all, I got to take all the screenshots, don't I? So I would go, well, anyway, I'm not going to go through with it. But you want to go back to the assignment, and you want to make sure that you do these screenshots and whatever, and you want to do that and submit them like before. And you also want to make sure you save this, save all, and exit. And then you want to, what did I just do now? You want to, this is the one we just worked on, do a right click and send to compressed zip folder. It's this one here. It's not this one. I'm going to throw this one here away. It's this one. And you would want to submit it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in my Dropbox because I logged in as the teacher. So I'm just going to put it in Rich Halverson's Dropbox here. So I'm going to upload a file and paste it over here, drag it over here, continue. And so now I've got it here for myself, which is one of these, this one. All right. So that should take care of assignment 11 and chapter 7. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you, my fans who come here to class every day. It's nice to see you. So I'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for watching.